We all want our house to look good, and when you got outdated landscaping, which is usually a combination of the house has just been touched in a couple of years, you got overgrown bushes, you got some cleanup, you have things that just take away from the overall value of your house. I wanna show you 3 designs from different parts of the country and tell you how much it costs so that if you were gonna do it or you're gonna pay somebody to do it, what it takes to enhance the curb appeal of your home and bring value to your house. Let's go. What's going on? I'm Bobby K. I'm a professional landscape designer and general contractor, and I love to help busy people with adding value to their houses. And how I believe you do this is with getting a design plan and then implementing that design plan with landscaping. Landscaping is a huge factor in bringing people to the door, enhancing the overall value of a neighborhood, and just making you feel good when you pull into the driveway. So I wanna show you 3 front yard designs today that are gonna do that. So let's get on to our first design in San Antonio, Texas. So there are just some designs that when I get done with them, they just feel right. And I felt like this was one of those because it appeals to so many different homes and it's very simple and clean and easy. Anybody can put this in. You absolutely could put this design in a weekend. Now the one thing is I said we're going to San Antonio, so I want you to know your zone on where you are as far as your planting. You can't put some of these plants in a different zone that's not as hot, that gets a lot of cold. If you get snow, this is probably not gonna work, but look at it from a bird's eye, like step back 30,000 foot view and think about different plants and bushes you can put in the places that you see here. It doesn't have to be like agaves is something we're gonna talk about. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, after you've ripped everything out, because we had a lot of overgrowth, let's start to dig into some of the things that look like a little bit of a miss. First thing I noticed is the trash cans. There's a lot of trash cans between the 2 houses, and it's just what my eye went to because trash cans are usually pretty bright, right? They're green, they're black, they're blue, you know, the recycle one, and you wanna get rid of that. So a thing that I love to do, and it brings a little bit of a modern flair, which was a request of this client, I'd like to have a little bit of a Zen modern vibe, is to put something as simple as a couple of posts, and it could be some cedar tone wood, it could be some composite decking, it could be all kinds of things. You could stain it, you could paint it, and throw the numbers on there. And then you pour some concrete, and you can actually roll those trash cans very easily down the driveway now versus throwing them in the grass, and they go off on the side of the house. Now you don't see them, and you've actually brought a pretty cool design element with the numbers of the house on that. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, if you want to take into account that watering is gonna be an issue, say parts of California or Las Vegas or places that are just hot and you need a little bit of a drought resistant thing, instead of doing rock with the whole yard, I like to break it up into different elements. And the 3 elements I like are mulch, which I understand is going to, hold moisture, which you might not have, so we'll talk about that in a second. Decorative rock, and then you can go to synthetic turf, or you can go with a grass that is tolerant to the heat. That could be a zoysia, it could be a Bermuda, it could be whatever works well. So I got these 3 elements in this design. And what I wanted to do is simply just create some interest. So I put a cool little strip along the walkway and then gravel up against the house. Any kind of drainage, whatever, it's never gonna be an issue with gravel up against there. Some people get worried about mulch up against the foundation of a house. I've never really found that to be an issue. As long as you're taking your water away, bugs and rodents and all that, if you've got your concrete stoop and it's filled in, that's not gonna be an issue. But I think that breaking it up versus doing all rock in this yard is a huge first step. So you got rock, you got the mulch, got a little mulch around the tree, and then we've got the grass. The third thing I wanna talk about is that actual planting. What are we going to fill in here that's simple, easy, low maintenance, and isn't gonna break the bank and anybody can put in? You wanna go with perennials or annuals or smaller, say 1 gallon to 3 gallon, maybe up to 5 gallon bushes and shrubs that aren't gonna be too heavy. You don't need a lot of equipment for other than a shovel and just a little elbow grease, right? So we got some agaves in there, some grasses, some boulders, pick boulders that are manageable that obviously that you could put in a wheelbarrow and put out there. And then I wanted to put a little focal point in front of this window. We did some snake plants. So we got some agaves anchoring some of the dead space, some grasses, some boulders, and with just a little bit of a color theme between blue, green, pop of red here and a little yellow. So we didn't get too crazy on that. And when you take the final product here, you light this thing up. I always preach light up your investment. You could do solar lights, you could do the hardwired lights on a transformer that goes on and off whenever you want. It really becomes something. You went from outdated, overgrown, to boom. This is an absolute beautiful, stunning piece, and I promise it's gonna enhance the value of the house. The neighborhood's gonna take note, and you'll probably see a couple people copy your design if you went with something like this. Overall cost, I think you're gonna be in yourself $1,500 to $2,000. If you hired somebody, $5,000 to $6,000 with the landscape lighting choices. Let's go to the next one. Okay, call me Ozzy Osbourne, because mama, I'm coming home. We are back in St. Louis. That is where I'm from. That's where this design is. And this one is also very simple, and I love it because if you're a realtor, if you are someone who flips, if you're someone who's looking just to sell your home and just get in and out or enhance the curb appeal as minimal as possible, not spend a bunch of money, this is a fantastic design. And the principles that I want to talk about in this apply to everything. So here we go. The first thing is we've got some outdated landscaping, obviously. Got an old broken up mortared veneer wall that's cracked. It's kind of falling. It's not looking good. A bunch of filled in space. I believe that was bamboo, like a type of bamboo there. Just needed to be ripped out. This retaining wall, in my opinion, when I looked on the back side, I didn't see any foundation, so I knew the brick was gonna go all the way down. It just was unnecessary. It wasn't hiding foundation. It was covering up good brick. It just was standing there, it was falling over. So bye-bye time. Get rid of that, get all that out of there, and let's just soften the place. Bring the grade down, cut in a nice natural edge, connect it to the existing landscaping, and then just do some simple, easy, seasonal planting. By doing green velvet boxwood, soft touch hollies, any kind of evergreen, just kind of spread out as a backdrop, and then doing just pretty little 1 gallon. We got some perennials in there, annuals, got some coleus, put in some ferns. It's kind of a shady area, that's why I selected those. It's got pops of color and texture, the evergreens, when everything goes dormant, that looks good, and it's just done, right? This is a great way if you are looking to enhance the curb appeal and not spend a bunch of money, sell your house, you're a realtor, you're a flipper, these are the kinds of things that you do, right? Final thing is you don't have to go hardwired lights. You could do solar lights. There's lots of cool little solar lights that are cheap. You can put those out there, you light it up, and then boom, you're done. All in on this one. With you doing it yourself, you're probably in about $750. The only tricky thing is where are you gonna put all that soil that was backside of there? Maybe there's a part on the yard, maybe there's some woods, or you just have a dump fee at a place that might be like $150, right? And then if you're gonna hire somebody, they're gonna come in with the equipment, which we actually did this install in St. Louis. We're gonna tear everything out, haul it out of there, and then get to work. There's a decent amount of labor. We were around, I think, $2,000 on installing this all in. So it's a good template. It does the job, and let's go on to number 3. All right, we are in Plainview, New York. Obviously, this is a different zone than San Antonio. It's going to get the cold, it's gonna get all those things. So when we're talking about the planting, we'll talk about that. But as you can see, this thing is obviously very outdated. And this is a little tricky because one of the requests of the client was they wanted to keep this area right here, but I fought this the entire design. Sometimes you just got to get rid of stuff. You can't see the front door. You can't see what's going on. It's so big, and it's got like these almost like just different elements popping out. I'll show you another angle here. This is another angle. Well, as you can see, there's a front stoop here. There's this nice walkway. It steps up, and then you go into the house. You can't even tell from the street. So it's one of those situations where there's just so much overgrowth, so much stuff going on. It's time to let's get cleaned up and let's start over, okay? So we've got this big element and we've got this element right here, which is covering half the house, right? They got a cool elevated planter, which I think we can utilize, but I wanna get rid of that as well. So here's what we did. This is the final. Now, what I wanna show and lock on are a few things. we've got this area in the front that we just talked about. Now you can actually see the house by putting a new ornamental tree, some kind of cool focal point to get a little bit of height, because that front stoops up probably about 3 feet. I think that getting some kind of canopy above is important. Put a boulder in there, put some grasses, some nice color. Basically that bed right there, instead of being an eyesore and like, where's the house, is now a focal point. So that's your first focal point. And a focal point, by the way, if you're new to the channel, that is just something that your eye is drawn to. It's like your cool X factors. It's the wow features of any design. We got another one over here. We have a Japanese maple. These are beautiful. Along the fence over here, I felt like that was a lot of just fence going on. We put some nice spruces in, so we've got some depth going on. It's not just right up here in front. You can also see I put a nice little bed up in the front right by the driveway. So this thing is the full scale of the yard. That's another tip. One thing that I thought was cool is another focal point, since I'm just talking about focal points, is you remember the trash cans that we hid? We did the similar thing right here, but this was more like a mailbox effect. I think the mailbox was on the other side, but if there was a mailbox, this could be incorporated into it, and it gives it this cool kind of Zen feng shui feel. We got the boulders, we're kind of rinsing and repeating the boulders, the grasses, bringing this element to this element. So we got this guy, this guy, this guy. I'm breaking up the dead space in between the windows with a lilac, and then just getting some evergreens along here, some dogwoods, some seasonal interest, and it's just kind of a rinse and repeat among here. Finally, that elevated planter, now I can actually see the house. I thought it was kind of a cool little zenny feel to do some grasses, which we've got throughout the design. But then I did some planters. These planters don't have to be with like a Hawaiian tea leaf, which of course is gonna be a very seasonal thing in New York and have to do that every year. There could be some evergreens in here. You could put bushes in here, but I wanted to break it up and just, let's see the house. Let's actually see what's going on. This kind of design, it may look a little cluttered because this is just one point of view, but when you turn from different angles, it's a lot more space in there. It's got the color, it's broken up. This is what sells homes. This is what you want to drive home to. This is what makes you feel good about your house. And of course, the house in time, that could get updated as well. There's a couple things. New door, I put a new door on there. Maybe there's some paint, maybe there's some new siding. It's not done, but the landscaping has tremendously had a big before and after on this. All in, if you're gonna do this yourself, we got a lot of stuff going on here. I think you're gonna be in that 4 to 5K range. If you're gonna pay somebody to do this, there's a lot of work going on. I think you're gonna get closer to 15. You'll light up your investment, you're good to go. Like I said, if you want to help out the channel, consider subscribing, hit the like button. I would love to have you back every week, Friday, 6:30 Central Time, we put this in. If you're interested in design, go in the links below. These are all YouTube subscribers. This is how this community has been built, and I'd love to feature your place. This is Bobby K saying creation is everything, so go out and create. I'll see you in the next video.